Now to help us take a look at entering data into a spreadsheet, let's open up another sheet from the Chapter 2 folder. And again, I'll go to the File Open command onto my desktop where I have my student folders. And here we go, Annual Track. This spreadsheet, obviously being tracked over an entire year, as you can see from the titles above, we have January through December. And the names on the left-hand side are the people that that data relates to as you follow their names and look on the row that's moving to the right. So far we have a limited amount of data in this space. I did that on purpose so that we could talk about entering data here. The first thing we'll do is to enter some simple data here. So if I wanted to enter for Todd T in March a value of 28, I could do that, tap the Enter key, and my active cell now moves down from D6 to D7. Notice we didn't start at A1 this time. That's because when I saved this document last, the active cell was at D6, and Excel remembers that so that I'm right there and ready to work for my next time. Entering data can also be made easy by typing a value. For example, for David R., I'll type in a value of 12, and then using the arrow keys. If I use the right arrow key, for example, I'm going to move to the right. It still enters the value 12 into that cell, but now I'm able to enter more values for David R. to progress through his year. This may be desirable, or I may want to continue moving down. So for April, I'll enter a value for David R. of 24, and then I'll tap the down arrow key. When I do, it's exactly the same result as tapping the Enter key. If you want to automate this process, you can do it from the Tools Options menu. Let me go up to Tools, Options, and on the Edit tab, we have Move Selection after Enter. The direction is currently down, that's the default direction, but I can change it to any of the 4 directions. So for example, right, OK. This is a more intuitive way to enter data. I know for myself when I'm entering a lot of numerical data, I'm going to use the keypad to the right-hand side of my keyboard, assuming you have a full-size keyboard, and I can type in 25, enter, 62, enter, 81, enter, 18, enter, 14, enter, etc. And you can see how quickly it is to enter data using the keypad and the Enter key because I've specified the direction that I want my active cell marker to move every time I enter data. If you have a lot of data to enter, this can be extremely useful and save you those movements from going back to your arrow keys and possibly hitting the wrong key. Now, if you want to remove data from a cell, that's also very easy. I'm going to use the arrow keys to move back over a cell that I just entered data into, and I'm going to tap the Delete key to remove the contents of that cell. Now, deleting the contents of the cell and deleting the cell itself are two very different things. If I want to delete the cell itself, I'm going to be removing a divider, removing a section from this spreadsheet. And I really can't remove a single cell. I can remove a row or a column. To select a row or a column, you can use the column headers. For example, I could click on the H. Notice how my pointer moved from the large plus to the down arrow? If I click on the H, that selects the entire column H, right from H1 down to H65,536. Now, I can tap the Delete key, but it only removes the contents. Again, as I said, deleting the contents and deleting the cells themselves are two very different things. Although the key is labeled delete, it doesn't do a cell delete until you specifically tell it to. So if I right-click, I'll get a contextual menu, the quick menu, that allows me to delete the cells themselves. And you saw the whole sheet slide sideways when I did that. I can do that again from the Edit menu, Edit, Delete. The command is delete, but it doesn't match up with the delete key on the keyboard because the delete key on the keyboard is just a quick and easy way to remove the contents of a cell, which quite frankly is a more common function. Let me click here on the 9, that's your row header, and that's going to select A9 all the way through IV9, 256 columns worth of that row, and again I can right-click and choose delete to remove that entire row of data. Very different from deleting the contents of those cells. I'm going to undo. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop down and undo all 3 deletes at one time. There we go. and simply because I wanted to show you the difference between deleting the contents and deleting the cells themselves. It may be that these values for argA B is completely debunked. So I can select this range of cells and then tap the delete key and quickly get rid of the contents without affecting the layout of my sheet. Let me go back a couple undos here, and that gets back the month of July. I'd left that out. And the last tip I'll leave you, this isn't going to be effective for this particular sheet that I'm working on, but it may be the case that you want to enter the same value over an entire range of cells, whether it's in a single row or in a complete range. Let me select E4 for Leonard G, all the way through to H6 for Todd T, and as I enter the value of 29, I'm going to hold down the Control key and tap the Enter key. And when I do, it takes 29 from the active cell that I was working in and applies it over my entire selected range. Well, there's some tips and tricks for entering data into Excel. Hopefully I've sped up your processes just a little bit. If not, stay tuned. There's a lot more coming as far as speed and accuracy within Excel.